Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a sloppy sports and entertainment talk show that covers everything from the New York Giants and New York Mets to movies, TV, comedy, and a whole lot more. It's hosted by a Giant Mess, that's me, the Real Cinch Neal Lynch. I'm an Irish-Italian-American who graduated from a Catholic high school but is not Catholic and earned a couple of overpriced degrees from a college known for producing doctors and lacrosse players, and then, get this, I didn't become either of those things. Instead, I like to tell stories. You can leave a voicemail at 862-248-1986. That's the last year that the New York Giants and New York Mets won a championship in the same year. Again, that number is 862-248-1986. You can subscribe to Giant Mess on YouTube. Follow me on my official blog, that's neillynch.com. On facebook.com, it's Giant Mess. And then on Twitter and Instagram, it's Real Cinch, RealCinch. And be sure to subscribe, follow, and give me that click. I want that click. On today's episode, we're going to recap the fantasy football draft weekend that I went to in Hickory Hills, Pennsylvania. That's right by Lake Harmony, Pennsylvania, which I guess is the Poconos area of Pennsylvania. It was a 3-day extravaganza and went up, went out, and went hard. Go big or go home. So without further ado, let's get it on. So as I mentioned last week, I would be going on a fantasy football draft weekend getaway, which to a lot of people probably sounds super lame. But I think, in my opinion, I mean, I used to be in 5 or 6 fantasy football leagues, and it was just too much. It was more stress than I needed in my life. And fantasy football should not be stressful by any stretch of the imagination. You know, it should be something that's fun, that you enjoy, and you don't mind losing a little money. But when you're in 5 or 6 leagues and each buy-in is like $200, it's like, I'm dropping a cool $1,200 for what? You know? So I think if you're going to be in a fantasy football league, make it one league and go all out in that league. And that's what we do. You know, I think that it's at this point, the fantasy football is just an excuse for us to get together and relive our glory days in college. And that's who is in this fantasy football league with me. It's my college buddies from Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland. And a bunch of guys that played baseball with, a bunch of guys that played football with, and would have been in the same fraternity with had I not had a girlfriend, I think. Although I kind of leaned on used the girlfriend as an excuse. You know, it was my first girlfriend ever. Yeah, I didn't have a girlfriend. I didn't have, I guess, what you would consider a real girlfriend in high school. The point is, I probably would have been in the same fraternity as these guys. You know, I was given an invite and I de-pledged because I had a girlfriend. I was like, why would I want to get yelled at and do all this shit like half naked with a bunch of dudes when I can just have relations with my lady friend? And do I regret it? A little bit. But I ended up in another fraternity, and I ended up with like 2 fraternities that I was cool with. You know, it's like if I was at my house, my fraternity house, and there wasn't really anyone around, I had another fraternity house to go to. It's like I almost had the best of both worlds. And I'm sure there were plenty of brothers at the fraternity that I de-pledged that were older. That there was for sure a lot of older brothers that were super pissed that I thought I could just come and hang out at the house. You know, I think they were not too pleased with that. I think there were a couple occasions where it was like, this fucking guy's not allowed in the fucking house, and like they come at me, and then I get saved, thankfully, by my friends. So yeah, that was always nice to. I'm like, you do let other people in this house. I've been to your parties, and this is a current party that you're currently having. So I think it's okay. I did pay the cover to get in. I'm more than willing to buy a keg if it means you won't rip my throat out. So that's the crew that's in this fantasy football league. It's a bunch of solid guys. It's a big league, and I know, so I'm not going to talk too much about the fantasy football aspect of things, because I know a lot of people, it's become this thing where people just don't want to hear it. You know, I think they say that on Pardon My Take a lot, is like nobody cares about your fantasy football team, and I get that. The issue is, like, there's a shit ton of people playing fantasy football. how can you not talk about it? I mean, it's a serious investment. And to have that kind of investment and to not even like mention it in passing, I don't know. Anyway, this is a big league, 14 teams, which is nuts. I got in the league probably like it's got to be almost 7 years now, 6 or 7 years now that I've been in the league. The league's been around forever. And I have not won the championship. The big piece of trivia coming out of this league is that I think a person named Mike has won the championship the past, I want to say 8 times, 8 or 10 times. There's 3 Mikes out of 14, and one of those Mikes has won the championship every year for the past, I don't know how many years. Insane. So I'm going to change my name. I think I would go, I don't know if I'd go by Mike or Mikey or Miguel, or I don't know. My dad's middle name was Michael, so maybe I can get away with that. There was also a famous sports broadcaster, is in the Boston area named Mike Lynch. So, and he's pretty well revered. I hung out with his daughter in Block Island, and she finds me repulsive, which par for the course. So we do, in the past, we've gone to AC and we've done the hotel, got a nice big suite at a hotel, and I'm not too big a fan of that. I mean, I enjoyed it. We got to go, you get to hang out at the pool a little bit during the day, and then it's the draft, and then maybe you go out to a nice dinner either the night before, the night of. I think the one year we tried to rent the what was that major huge boxing match with Floyd Mayweather against Manny Pacquiao. That might have been 16 or 17, and like couldn't get it to work. So that was fun. But it's just a good time all around. They did the Jersey Shore one year, which I couldn't do. And part of the problem of getting married, because my wedding anniversary, my 6-year wedding anniversary would have been on August 20th. And so they typically, fantasy football drafts are, late August. And so I would try to avoid, that weekend for the fantasy football draft. And there were some where it's like the consensus was against me, and so I'd have to draft remotely, and it's just not the same, dude. It's just so much better getting everyone in the same room, especially on a weekend like a Saturday, and day drinking, and you can take your time, sort of. I mean, the draft that we had was 4 hours, and I think the people that are not there, it's got to be so frustrating. I know it was frustrating for me the 1 or 2 times I wasn't able to make it. I think one was the wedding, and then the other one was an anniversary, and it was just like they kept picking that same weekend, and I couldn't make it. And then trying to draft remotely, it's just luckily we set up like a FaceTime type situation, so the people that weren't there could at least kind of see what was going on and kind of hear what was going on. Something. I know it's better than nothing, but I can't imagine that's a good experience with all of us buzzed brohams buzzing, just making so much noise and yelling and trash talking. So usually do AC. They did Jersey Shore one year. I couldn't go to. It looked like a blast. We did the Lake Harmony house last year. It was right on a lake, and that was pretty sweet. Lots of people, like neighbors, just people on their boats, jet skis, swimming. It just was like a lot of activity around us, which I loved. And we actually did something where we semi-accidentally started the draft the night before it was supposed to start. So it's kind of like a surprise start. And I can't imagine what the remote people were thinking, because that's when you're on premises, on location, that shit just happens organically and pops up, and people get way more spontaneous. And there's just zero thought that goes into the remote people. And so I think they started early, and it was just like, yeah, we'll just casually draft over the course of the night and then into the day, and then we'll all sit down as a group, in the afternoon and really bang it out. And I was like, this is weird, but I kind of dig it. And but with that situation on the lake, you had to deal with laws. You had to deal with the more local, either the local residents or like the long time vacationers or guests or something, people that they've been there for the past 15 to 20 summers and they know all the laws and the rules. And of course, the people across from us were such assholes, or behind us were just, the house was pretty decent, but not enough beds. I remember there was we got there early last year and were able to snag a decent room with 2 twin beds, that was like the cream of the crop, and then the guys that were late, they got all kind of bunched up and grouped up into what we ended up calling the COVID cave, because it was like, it's just close quarters. And there was a little bit of a COVID scare, just a little bit of a COVID scare. But we have, that's I always say in my intro, overpriced degrees from a research university known for producing doctors. Well, we got a bunch of doctors in this group, which is good. And so it's always nice hearing, people think, oh, doctors are doctors and like they must all be like-minded and must all have the same opinions because science is very, cut and dry and factual in the medical community. You go to med school and you learn, it's like, no, there's disagreements. I mean, I've been privy to a lot of disagreements between the doctors and the group on the group text. But so this year we got to go back to that same area, but this was a much bigger house, which was great. And there's 10 of us that were able to make it, and there were 10 bedrooms. So it's like everyone got their own room. And I know you're thinking like, holy shit, is this a mansion? It didn't come across as a mansion. I don't know. Maybe I remember thinking when I went to the Playboy Mansion, like, man, this thing's going to be like a goddamn Gothic castle that you'd see in like, downtown Italy, in Roma. But no, Playboy Mansion was just like, oh, this is smaller than I thought it would be. You see it in pictures, and I guess you see it with like the playmates in the pictures, and the playmates are not like 6 foot 235 like this old fat ass you see before you. So I guess, I don't know if you call it a mansion per se. I mean, it was very affordable and very, did not cost an arm and a leg. So that was nice having everyone had their own bedroom. I will say we weren't by the lake, no body of water near us. We really just stayed on the premise, like in the house for the most part. But would hang out. They had a big deck area, patio deck, which was great. Played a lot of cornhole on that deck, and then plenty of space in the living room, a lot of space in the downstairs, pool table, poker table, shuffleboard, which I'm sad to say we didn't get to play more of. I thought that we would play more of that, and plenty of TVs. Problem is the TV, there were a shit ton of these remotes that like Hopper remotes. I guess Hopper, is that still a thing? I don't know. Owned by Dish. And so they had like just an overabundance, just oversaturated with Hopper remotes that no one knew how to use. And there was zero instructions anywhere. I think most times when you do an Airbnb or VRBO, whatever it is, renting a vacation home by the owner or whoever manages the property, I've been fortunate enough to have the owner supply like, here's a binder of all the shit you'd ever need. Every question you could possibly ask. And if you still have a question, here's the number. So none of that. It wasn't like, hey, here's how you operate the TV. Here's how you operate this. Here's where this is. Here's so that was a little disappointing. But other than that, I mean, you can't. I'm nitpicking at this point. I mean, it was a beautiful, spacious house. And unlike last year, where I think there were some people that kind of would go off on their own, do their own thing because of the lake, this one was much more concentrated. So it's like we weren't on top of each other, but it was like everyone was within, you could see and hear everyone, and it wasn't overwhelming at all, which I thought was great. To prepare, I want to make sure I had a good time. I had my first visit to a legal dispensary in the state of New Jersey, in the great state of New Jersey, the Garden State, to pick up some herb, but not really herb, like a different form of herb. My first experience there, and I drove up, I park, doesn't look like the parking lot's too crowded. the windows are completely like you can't see into the building at all. It's just completely they have it like almost, when you I think about the fraternity house when we'd have a party and like we had those big windows in the front, we'd have to cover it with newspaper so like people couldn't look in and see all the crazy crap that was happening, which was just beer pong. It was mostly just beer pong or some other stupid game, but a lot of underage drinking. So yeah, that is a federal offense, as we all know. And so it was kind of like that, like you can't see in. And so I didn't know what to expect. I walk in and there's another snake line, but it's not a snake line. They have it set up for a snake line, but it's not that crowded. So I walk in and I'm just like, okay, I don't know what to do. I've never been here before, but the guy's like, hey, come step on up. I just need your ID. All right, there you go. All right, you just go through that door. And so I go through the door and then just hit with the stench of that sticky icky. And I'm pretty sure I got like a secondhand high for sure. And to go through the snake line, even though there's no people to snake, and just kind of, and I see like, oh, you need to place your order before you approach the counter. And I was like, no, dude, don't pull another rental car BS policy on me again. I got to order online again. Can I just order from the person, please? And it turns out someone saw me like trying to do it, and they're like, oh, no, you can just go up. You can just go up to the counter. I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Why do people make this so complicated? But it was mobbed. Now there wasn't any snake line, but that counter stretched almost the entire width of the building, and it was like 1 to 2 people deep, and there had to be like 30 to 40 people at this counter, all on top of each other. I mean, there's zero space in between people, just like shoulder to shoulder. And on the other side of the counter are all these clerks or agents or whatever that are trying to help out these people, and they're shoulder to shoulder, and everyone is screaming. I mean, there's just no normal civil talking going on. It's like everyone's just trying to talk over each other so that we can understand each other. And so I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't quite looked at the menu or anything. I was just like, these people probably know what they're talking about. And I know that can be tricky. Like when we went to the bachelor party my bachelor party in Denver, I specifically picked Denver because it's legal there. And I didn't want to have to worry about anyone. I wanted everyone to just relax and have a good time and not have to worry about, being sneaky or like getting caught or anything like that. I was just like, let's just go where it's legal and we can actually enjoy ourselves and not have to panic or worry about anything. And so when we went there, you ask the person a question, and I know this joke has been made multiple times before, but you ask a person a question at a dispensary. It's like, buckle up, Buttercup, because you're about to go on a ride. You're about to get a dissertation about everything there's to ever know about whatever you just asked and more. We're talking tangents, bitch. So I was like, as soon as the question came out of my mouth, I was like, oh, I shouldn't have asked that because I'm going to be here for the next friggin' 3 hours listening to this dude. But I ended up just saying, hey, I normally order through 3 Chi. And so do you have anything that's kind of like that? Like, that's how much of a fucking noob virgin person I am. It's like, I've never purchased it before. It's always some friend had something. And then the only time I only ordered it online was through this 3 Chi, which is not even really, it's like Delta THC 8 or something like that. It's like not really THC, but kinda. It's like the legal amount. I don't know. So he was polite and he basically was telling me he has no idea what I'm talking about. I was like, what are you looking for? What do you want? And I was like, well, I want something to help me sleep, and I want something to hang out with my friends. He's like, all right. So you want an indica? You want a sativa? I was like, yes, that sounds familiar because my friend said indica means in the couch, meaning you are melting into the couch, and didn't have a cool saying for sativa. So we got to think of something for that. So fairly easy, fairly painless, $30 each though for I think 10 gummies or lozenges. I'm a weird cat. I get that. Like, I like to smoke cigars. I'm not a big fan of smoking cigarettes unless I'm drunk. And and in terms of smoking weed, it's like I really don't want to do it because I look like such a a squid. Is that the right word? Such a nerd, just a dork when I smoke up. So I'd much rather just do a tincture under the tongue and I'm good to go. I don't have to do this like, what's the etiquette about puff pass and like all this other crap that you got to worry about. Like, no, dude, I just, am I hitting it too hard? Am I hitting it too soft? Vape pen? No, just give me a gummy. Take a little bite of a gummy and I'm good to go. I don't have to keep hitting a pen or whatever. So that was a success. I'm very proud of myself. And I ended up, even though I had to pick up a friend about an hour north of where I am, because he doesn't have a second car. He and his wife don't have a second car. She needed it for the kids, so I offered to pick him up, and he got me some Topo Chico hard seltzers, and he busted my balls for that. And I went to the liquor store and I picked up some more hard seltzers because I felt like I needed to bring something to the game, to the party, to the table, along with Teremana tequila, the Rocks tequila, no big deal. And I've noticed that I think the vast majority of my friends look down and frown upon hard seltzers. They're getting the same kind of treatment that I think Mike's Hard Lemonade got, back in the day, like in college or right after college, where it's like, you pussy, like. But you look at Mike's Hard Lemonade and you look at hard seltzers, and they're like 9 times out of 10, they have higher ABV than most of the beers that these jokers are drinking. So like, is it because I think it's a couple things. I think it just needs a new name. I think beer just sounds cool. Let me get a beer. I have a beer. Yeah, I have a beer. You want some vodka? Like, all right, let's get vodka. Let's wrestle a bear. Let's do some ice fishing. Oh, you want some tequila? Yeah. Yeah. Let's shake the maracas. But with like hard seltzer, I think it's the word seltzer first and foremost that needs to go. We just got to come up with it's got to be something called different. Because anytime you say the word seltzer, it just, people, they immediately take your man card. It's insane. And hard anything. I guess a hard cider, there's a strong contingency of guys, a niche group of guys that are like hard cider all day, every day. And yet they're not taken to task like I am for my hard seltzer addiction. Bullshit. So yeah, I drink hard seltzers. I put a lot of thought into this stuff. I know people don't think so, but like hard seltzers, more times than not, lower calorie count, lower sugar count, lower carbs, more punch, more alcohol. What's the problem with that? It's like no. If you're going to put poison in your body, it has to be the worst poison, and it has to be the worst for you. Okay. I guess that's what makes it like I'm less manly because whatever, dude. Yeah. I was worried about this trip with my car. I just, if you listen to a previous episode, I put like $3,200, $3,300 of repairs, maintenance into my car, taking it to get serviced, and that's leaving out a few items. And then I noticed that the low pressure icon or whatever illuminates on my dashboard. And I'm like, you got to be shitting me, because they just put air in those tires. So that means the same thing happened with my Ford piece of Fusion crap. That means that there's a leak or it's rotting. And that means the tires need to be replaced, which means that's another cool $1,000, whatever the hell it's going to be. So, and I inspected the one tire and it looked like Predator got to it. Or Wolverine. Like there's a pretty significant, it looks like a gash, or someone tried to knife it, but yet it's not like flat. So I don't know. I rolled the dice. I was like, all right, so be it. I didn't have time to get it fixed, or maybe I did and was too lazy. It just, my list of things to do is just too long at this point. I'm just like, I'll get to it. And then I never do. Although there's some things where it's like, if I don't get to it, I'm in big time trouble. So that Maple, he lives in the, I guess I could say this. I haven't given his name or anything. The Maplewood, South Orange area. That area needs to reevaluate its road situation. I almost got in like 3 accidents immediately after crossing the town line. Immediately. Like there are intersections I've never seen before. I've been driving 3 decades now, and there's stuff that's just like, whoa, okay, just no signs. I guess I just go for it. And so I pick up my buddy and we go. It's about a 2-hour drive to where we need to be, but we're going to the golf course first because we have a 12 o'clock tee time. I've been hitting up the driving range a lot, and felt like this week it started to click and make sense, and I was hitting the ball well. And then our tee time's at 12, and so we mosey on over from the range to where the carts are to kick off, to start off, and it's probably like 11:48, something like that. And we're like, hey, we're just gonna putt a little bit on the green before we get started. He's like, all right, you got like 5 minutes. It's like, no, actually we have 12 minutes, but all right, yeah, 5 minutes, that's cool. And I think we putted like 3 balls, and the guy was like, all right, let's go group, 12 o'clock group, let's go. It's like, all right, well, not 12 o'clock, but all right. So we started a little early. We had 2 threesomes, and we get to the first tee, and there's already another cart behind us. Like, we're the second group of 3 going, and there's already a cart behind us of like older guys, and they're just up our ass the entire 18 holes. Just like the very first hole. First of all, I can't hit for distance worth a damn. At this point, I'm just like, I just need to hit it straight. And I think if I can hit it straight, I give myself a chance. If I try to go for distance, I'm just going to hang out in the woods. Into the woods we go. So, my first shot off the fairway, I go last, or I'm the one who doesn't hit the furthest. So I barely make the beginning of the fairway most times. Sad. And I hit my shot, and I just got done hitting my shot, and I took like 2 or 3 steps to go to the cart, and of the ball that has been driven by these motherfuckers behind us almost hits me. It's like, come on, guys, are you serious? Is there a early bird special at the Golden Corral? What's going on here? So that kind of put a little crimp in the day. The enjoyment wasn't maxed out because of these dudes. But I will say, I got a couple compliments on my golf game, and then the front 9. I didn't do any kind of like drinking whatsoever, and so I feel like my game was a little bit better. And then the back 9, I started to socially lubricate, and it kind of was all downhill. Mostly 6s on the front 9, and then the back 9 was like a few 8s. But we played a game called Lone Wolf on the course, where there's 3 of us, and so you go in order. You pick the order, your first, your second, your third. The first guy that goes can claim blind lone wolf, where you have to call it out, and that means you're basically essentially betting on yourself. And in doing so, if you get the lowest score of the 3, you get the most points, and no one else gets points. You can then hit the ball, and then the next person goes. You either have to pick them before they shoot, because after they shoot, the only one you can pick. I think I already screwed this up. I wasn't really listening. I think it's like, or you can pick one of the other 2 guys, right? And there's some debate about when. For me at least, about when you can pick it, because I was doing it wrong apparently, but I didn't know I was doing it wrong. And so you can either go blind lone wolf before your first shot. You can either let the other 2 guys shoot. So if the first guy shoots and crushes it right down the fairway, you can pick that guy. Now, if he doesn't, he shanks into the woods, and the next guy goes and he also shanks it into the woods. You can't then pick the first guy that went. Does that make sense? But say the first guy shanks it, the second guy crushes it down the middle of the fairway, you can pick the second guy. Or you can go just lone wolf, which is like you're betting on yourself. Again, not as high points as blind lone wolf, but more points than if you pick someone else, because if you pick someone else, you split the points if one of you gets the lower score. It's just a nice little incentive, something, a little extra juice that you can infuse into the game. No cart girls, which was no problem for us. It was just a little weird not seeing any cart girls come by. They did have the carts did have this like I haven't been golfing since the last time, the last fantasy football draft last year, but these golf carts had cool little screens, kind of where your rear view mirror would be in a car, and it can tell you like the distance to the tee based on like I guess GPS that you would have in your car or on the cart. And so that was very helpful. And so and I only lost 2 or 3 balls out of 18 holes. I mean, that's got to be a record for me. Typically I'm losing probably 6 to 9. Nice. So that was a good workout. That was a good 4.5 hours of work done. I think the only thing that one of the more memorable moments was probably trying to hit off the tee at one hole, and my buddy ripping the juiciest of farts, just split cheek so hard that it caused me to come hard down on my swing, and I'm pretty sure I broke my wrist or sprained it at least. It's just like, but damn, that was funny. I wouldn't change a thing. And I told him, I was like, listen, I'd love to return the favor, but I have not had anything to eat today. Because last year before we went, hit the highway, we went to this like coffee shop and got a bagel and a coffee. We didn't do it this time. And I thought, oh, well, we're going to be like an hour early. We probably get some breakfast there. Nope. And then, we didn't get to the house until 5. So I really didn't have anything to eat all day until we got to the house. And then dinner was, I'm really impressed by at least this group of friends with their culinary skills. I did not expect that from a lot of these guys. Like, because typically in years past, we'd always have this one guy who's kind of like the den mother, if you will, who, he puts together these trips and he does most of the cooking. Like last year, we did not eat dinner until 10:30 at night. It was that, I always say this, but it was like if you were to eat, if you lived in Spain or France, like they have their dinner at like 9-10 o'clock at night, because they're all siesta-ing or napping during the day, I guess. But so he tends to dabble in vitamins, if you know what I mean. If you listen to Pat McAfee, you know what I'm talking about. And he tends to get distracted and talk to this one and then like, oh, I forgot this and I got to do this. And just, it's just a very long process. So this year, the way they were like, we can't go through with that again. We need to figure out a better system and spread the wealth, if you will. And so they came up with teams. And so I was put on a team with 2 other guys, and I was responsible for breakfast Saturday morning. Big mistake. And then these other 2 guys were responsible for dinner Friday night. And so they came up with they made these huge Maryland crab cakes that were basically like all crab meat, which was so freaking good. And then street tacos with like shrimp, like a spicy Cajun shrimp. And then it was either chicken or steak was the other protein, I guess you'd say. So good. And I had a shit ton of that food because I was starving. But it really hit the spot. And then, we played cornhole here and there, as I said. I think for me, the commissioner of the league, he had a cornhole set, and of course he's a Cowboys fan, so his cornhole set was like the big Dallas Cowboys star on each of the boards. And I was like, oh, this hurts my eyes. But I guess the one positive spin zone I had on it was like, at least I get to drop my bag on that star. I'm gonna drop my bags right on that star. And some really interesting turn of events with cornhole. Again, I don't think anyone wants to hear secondhand about how that goes, but my Lord, dude, the swings as a roller coaster. And I always wondered, like, I know they have it, they televise it, like ESPN, the Ocho has it. They televise that, but I feel like they don't capture, it just doesn't feel the same watching it on TV. Like they just don't have it's just not as like live or die, like riding on the edge of the wings of an eagle. It just doesn't feel as exciting as it does in the moment when, you have literally 3 or 4 bags, like just dangling in the hole. And then a guy decides to airmail it and knocks them all in. But, yeah, I mean, that's like, to me, I put this on one of the dating apps, and I'm sure that's why I don't get any likes on the dating apps, is like that's to me is a perfect day. Like wake up, kegs and eggs, day drink, cornhole, homemade food, maybe some sports on the TV, poker, shuffleboard, pool. Like, you can't go wrong with that. And I'm just as I'm getting like a little bit better at golf, like I'm getting a little bit better than I was last year. I'm getting a little bit better at poker than I was last year. I just had zero, like, it's interesting, man. I had zero interest in golf and poker for a long, long time. I think because I was just so overwhelmed and so bad at it for so long. Like, anytime I tried it, it was just like, this is, it's just unusual. Not to, this is going to sound, I'm going to sound like a cocky asshole, like a douche, but there are not many things where I try it. If I try it and I'm like, okay, that was encouraging, that I would give up. But poker and golf were two things where it's like, I am so bad at this. I am not getting it at all. Why would I want to invest my time in it? And it's like, well, if you just invest a little more time in it each day or every week, or at least a little bit each month, you do get a little bit better. So I still got smoked in poker that first night. And it's because I did the sativa half a gummy. They're like 10 milligrams, which I guess is not a lot. At least that's what the other potheads and stoners said in the house, was like, oh, that's nothing. And I was like, I do like half, and I still feel like I'm in orbit. So, yeah, that was trying to understand poker when you're already that deep. It's like every year I say to myself, I come away from these fantasy football draft weekends and I'm like, I gotta play better golf and I gotta get better at poker, or these guys are just like never gonna hang out with me again. As sad as messed up as that sounds, and as sad as that is, that's super pathetic. But I'm like, all right. And then usually I would, but then I kind of forget about it, and then I try to do like a crash course in golf and poker, like the day before or the week of, and it just never works out. And then them trying to explain it to me in the moment, it's like, it's part frustration, but part also pretty funny. So yeah, it was a $20 buy-in first hand, and then a $30 buy-in after I lost that $20, and I lost the 20, I lost the 30, but at least it wasn't in record time. I feel like I lasted, if I can at least last a couple hours, I feel good about it. Like, if I can make $20 last an hour, $30 last an hour, I'm okay with it. Pool was interesting as well, because there's a lot going on in the house, like a lot of guys, a lot of conversations, a lot going on, and so it's like, you might get distracted and forget where you're at, and I think that happened with pool. And I think a lot of people underestimated me with pool, but pool is one of those things where I've been playing pool even when I haven't been playing pool for a long time. We had a pool table. Well, we didn't have a pool table. My grandfather had a pool table, so anytime we would go over there, it's like, it's pool time. And so I feel a little bit more confident in my pool abilities. And we played a lot of pool in college at the local bar there, PJ's. That fucking place. And I get so, my anger with them stems from the fact that it's like they wouldn't let me in when I was underage. Like, that's it. It's just like they that's it. They didn't really, I might have got kicked out of there once or twice. But yeah, so we played a lot of pool there, and played some pool here. I made some pretty decent shots. I think some shots that people would have taken, would not have taken a plus 300 bet on, or plus 500 bet, or even a plus 900 bet. And I proved the haters wrong. So I feel good about that. Looking good with the stick. And eventually made my way upstairs to movie watching crew, because there's always a couple stragglers that are like, listen, I suck at pool and poker and shuffleboard. Let's just tune out and watch some movies. Oh, that's just foul. Wow, that would have scored at least 2. We watched Varsity Blues, a movie that I haven't watched in a while. Last time I think I watched Varsity Blues was 2013, before I met Cassie, my ex, and ended up meeting a lady who was a friend of a friend, and we hooked up, and she was like obsessed with Varsity Blues, and I think she had Varsity Blues on VHS, which is even more baller. And watched that, and so it's been a while since I've seen it, and I unreal, like that kind of shit happened in high school. Like, I can't even imagine pulling those kind of stunts in college, but like the strip club scene, like, it's the night before a game. It's like a school night. They have school the next day and a football game, and they were out all night at strip club, and that strip club like didn't give a shit that they were like, and I guess that's the whole point of like high school football in Texas. It's like, man, I wish I had played high school football in Texas. I guess is my point here, because the amount of crap that they can get away with is just unbelievable. It's like they're wearing their varsity jackets, and you all have saw them last weekend beat Elmore, whatever the hell the other school's name is. And then of course the teacher, spoiler alert, but the teacher is like a stripper at the strip club. And it's like, we don't tell anyone, okay? It's like, what am I watching? What is this? Is this real life? No, it's not. It's a movie, Neil. But at the same time, I mean, that scenes like that in that movie are like why I played football when I decided to play football as a kid. So that was, I couldn't get over that. And then driving your pickup truck, black, like pretty much browned out drunk, to the football field, parking it on the football field, taking out your shotgun, and then shooting all your awards, and then no one giving a fuck. It's like, okay, all right. So my room wasn't, I feel I might have made a mistake picking my room, because I thought, so the patio on the back of the house, there's the living room, and then you go outside through the sliding glass doors to the patio deck. That's not a complete wraparound, but sort of wraparound. And then there's a bedroom like right next to the living room with a sliding glass door out to the outside. That's by the hot tub, and that goes right out to where the cornhole is. And I thought, well, that's perfect for me. But the only thing I was worried about was the light situation. It's like, if you're watching the video, I have these blackout curtains. I'm spoiled so bad. Like if I go anywhere and sleep anywhere else, it is not dark enough unless I'm in like honestly solitary confinement, or like a cave, or, a cube, windowless cube. So anytime I go somewhere else, it's like there's just way too much sunlight here. And that ended up being the case with this room. But I thought, oh, this would be perfect, because last draft, it was like I was staying up till 3-4 in the morning, maybe even later each night. And that was not the case Friday night. It was like I was donezo by 2. And then, I think I maybe got to bed at like 3:15 on Saturday night. And I wasn't even really that tired. But at the same time, it was just like, and the other part of it is, other than the light, you're right by the living room, which is like where everyone congregates in the morning. I don't know how people do this. Okay. Morning, early risers, morning people, especially morning people that I was partying with until 2 and 3 in the morning. How are you getting up at 8 in the morning? Why are you getting up at 8 in the morning? Like, can we all, and especially, and I think the reason is a lot of these guys are dads now, and your kids get up early. My kid does not get up early. She's, like daughter, like father. Like father, like daughter, because, I just don't get up early, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on a whole lot. But these guys, it's like, dude, I went to bed before you and you're up before me. And so, like I said, I was Saturday morning breakfast duty, and I woke up at like 9:30, and that was only after, an hour of listening to everyone talking and conversing right outside my bedroom door. And I got up, and by the time I get to the kitchen counter, it's like, breakfast is done, dude. The dishes are done. My teammate decided that to make this unreal breakfast casserole that I guess it's kind of like if you were to have a skillet, but not really. It was eggs, cheese, tater tots, bacon, sausage in like a casserole arrangement type thing. So freaking good, dude. And I was just like, do you need any help whatsoever? He's like, nope, it's all done. Thanks. It's just like, oh my God, I feel like such a piece of shit. Like if he, part of me kind of expected that to happen though. Like it's just the kind of guy he is, he's like a biomedical engineer, scientist, doctor, like basically came up with a lot of the vaccines, like the vaccine for COVID, that kind of guy. I was like, he's probably got this under control. And I think he understood, it was like a mutual understanding without having to say anything. Like, okay, well, Neil's gonna like obviously stay up too late, try to sleep in, probably forget that this is like his responsibility. So I'm gonna take care of everything. So I was like, thanks, man. There were a lot of spicy Bloody Marys going around. I ended up, my buddy did not want vodka in his spicy Blomo. He wanted tequilas. And so didn't want to like waste a shot. So I ended up having to do a shot of vodka in the morning, which is always a great way to get the day started. We were off and running. Draft started around 2. Like I said, that we had pizza and subs, and finished around 6 o'clock. We did have a buddy that was fucked up, like as out of control as you can be without completely ruining the weekend. I've probably seen worse, but I think there were some people there that were like that were on edge and were not happy with what was going on. I was kind of aware of what's going on, but I was like, so far, no reason to call the cops, right? Let's just keep this all in-house. But yeah, it was kind of like, when did he get off? When did he go off the rails? Like, how is that? This is casual all day drinking. You know, I think we're all pretty experienced, grizzled vets. We all know how to pace. This guy does not. Like, it was very mysterious how it got to that point. And, he tried to tackle a guy. Why he decided to pick the biggest guy in the house to tackle, I don't know. I think that's kind of like prison rules, you know, you don't want to be a bitch your first day in prison, so you go after the biggest guy in the yard. Maybe that was the case. A lot of hard R's being thrown out there. And then he tried to do a jump off the cornhole board, and you could hear a little crack right when he elevated and off the board, which did not sit well with the owner of the board, especially since the guy who did the jump, who was blacked out, was an Eagles fan. So it's like, you know, there's I don't think you meant that to be just that. I think you did try to crack my board. But talking smack to everyone on the cornhole boards, and then when he got on the cornhole board, I've never seen anyone miss more or harder than this dude. I mean, not even within a limb's length of the board, which is tough. He ended up tossing one that went above the roof of the house and landed on the railing of the patio deck. It's like, it's about as bad as it gets. So he was basically passed out by the time dinner was ready, or a little after the draft. Like, the sun didn't even go down yet. Like, the sun's getting real low, and he got even lower before that happened. So we took a nice little group picture while he was passed out on the couch. And then dinner was another Grand Slam home run. Couple friends were teamed up, and they did lomo soltada or soltado. Lomo soltada or lomo soltado. It's a Peruvian dish. Got flank steak over a bed of rice. It's like a flank steak stew over a bed of rice with ají sauce. Like, this ají sauce, like kind of spicy, but not like overpowering spicy, just a little bit of a kick. So freaking good, dude. I don't think I've ever had Peruvian food before. I think I was just like, I didn't know that Peruvian food was a thing, and I don't know if I'm willing to roll the dice on ordering. Like, I always see it like as a takeout delivery or food delivery on like Uber Eats or something like that, Grubhub. It's like, I don't know if I'm willing to go down that road, just because I just don't know anything about it. It's just being ignorant, you know, because I mean, to me, it's like one of the top 5 worst things in the world. It's like, you order something that you have no idea what you're getting into, and you get it, and it's like horrible, and you're like, why did I do this? Why did I roll the dice? But it was awesome. It was so good. And then again, some more poker. $50 buy-in this time, each hand, and I ended up winning a couple hands. Kept surprising people. I called myself the wild card because, again, didn't really know what I was doing, and so ultra confident on bets I shouldn't have been ultra confident on. So it's like, they don't know. I never was bluffing really, because I didn't know how to bluff. I didn't know when to bluff. I just thought I was doing the right thing, and it was like, no, that's something you would do if you were bluffing, but I don't know, unintentional bluffing. Like, after this weekend, I tried to download a free poker app, No Dice, because I don't think that exists. But there is a website where it's free, and I love it. I've been playing it nonstop since Sunday, 24/7 free poker. But I'm pretty sure, I'm like very positive that it's just stealing all my information. I have not given it any information, nothing. but I'm sure like some kind of hacking's going on in the background. It's like, how are you letting me play this game for free for all this time, and you're keeping track of my score this whole time? Like, I've been on and off it, the whole past 2-3 days. Resume game, sure. I'm up like $4,000, bro. So next year it is fucking on. Yeah. So after poker was done, went up with the movie Stragglers, which is I love that crew. We watched the end of Joker, which I haven't watched Joker since I first watched Joker when it came out in 2019, and that is, I could see why there are some people out there that were like, this is gonna cause mass pandemonium and chaos, and the incels are gonna rise up, and it's like you watch I haven't watched it since then, and I still get that same kind of eerie feeling about it. Like, whoa, like this guy is off the reservation, and now that he's got like all these people on his side, still kind of curious about how that's going to tie into everything. And maybe it's not. I briefly saw a headline when I opened the Google app today that was like, Robert Pattinson's already out as Batman. It's like, or like, so we're just going to do like all these random, like Joker's not part of anything. The Batman was not part of anything. We're not going to tie any of that together. It's like the complete opposite of what's happening with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Marvel Cinematic Universe was like, Kevin Feige, whatever, is just like, if you want this movie to come out, you need it to tie into all the other movies that have come out. Like this, we have a plan. This is how this movie fits. This is how you'll tie it in. This is how you set up the next movie. Like everything is just so coordinated and planned out and orchestrated. DC's like, well, we could put out another Joker movie. And it has nothing to do with anything else. Nope. And then the Batman, that was pretty cool, but that's not going to really be anything moving forward. It's just like, now they have the Flash to deal with, like all that shit going on with the Flash. It's like, and they just canceled the Catwoman movie that was supposed to come out on HBO Max. It's like, DC's in a bad spot, dude. I don't even know how you fix it. Just like, maybe we'll just pause on superhero shit for like 5 years and really just Manhattan Project it, like lock ourselves in a bunker in a war room and hash it out. It's like, how about you guys put your heads together, take a time out, there's no rush. And then we tried to start Blade Trinity, but it was vetoed, which I was like, guys, we are so inebriated and intoxicated right now. You don't think that watching a bad vampire hunter movie with Wesley Snipes, Ryan Reynolds, and Jessica Biel, you don't think that's gonna be like funny and we can make fun of it and we go all like Mystery Science Theater 3000 on their asses? And I was like, nope, switch to Sports Center. And I learned that some UFC fighter named Usman got knocked out with a leg kick, and it was unexpected, and people were going nuts. And there's that famous viral clip of Joe Rogan losing his mind while watching it. So that was a big story. And it's like, I just can't get into UFC. It sucks because I'm also this, like, if I'm in a room with other fans and followers of that sport and they have it on, I'll get into it for sure. I'm not gonna be like, no, I'm not. I just can't watch it by myself. Like, I need to be with others that are like into it, and then I'll get into it and I'll ask a lot of questions. Same with like the World Cup. It's like, I fucking hate soccer, but I remember the World Cup in 2006 and maybe 2010. We would go out to bars and watch it, and like people would be super into it, and it was exciting. But I'm not gonna get into it on my own. So it's like I don't keep up with UFC pretty much at all, other than I know that was it Molly the Meatball and Patty the Batty are like signed by Barstool, and so I kind of follow them because I follow Barstool. So that's this week's episode. I appreciate you sticking with me and enduring. And let's go day drinking. I am all about day drinking. I want to bring day drinking back. I need it in my life. I love it. I know I sound like an alcoholic, but it's just being out in the sun with friends, music, games. Like, I don't know that it gets better than that. And if you don't swipe right on that, I don't know what to tell you. Why don't you go swipe left on life? You know what? Okay. We got to cut it. That's all I got. Thanks so much. Adios, muchachos.